Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Planning Advisory Committee meeting of Tuesday, June 22nd, 2021. It's just 5 o'clock now, so we're going to get going. And with that, the call to order, if I could have somebody move the approval of the agenda, that the agenda be adopted as presented. Whoops. Thank you. Moved by Jim, seconded by Mary Todd, and moving on. Oh, all in favor? Sorry. Good, thank you. Declarations of interest, any of those? Not seeing any. And so number 4 item is minutes of the previous meeting. If Jim Hutton or Mary Todd is willing to move the recommendation that the Planning Advisory Committee minutes for June 1st, 2021 be accepted as presented. So moved by Brett, second by Jim.
I don't, Chair, I wasn't at that meeting, I don't believe.
I believe you weren't. I think it was your anniversary or something.
That's right. Yeah.
Lindsay, is that still?
So yes. Through you, Madam Chair, he can adopt if you'd like, or if you'd like, we can remove the motion and bring it to the next meeting as well. That's up to the committee.
I'm fine with it, Chair. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you. Seconded by then Jim Hutton. All in favor? Good stuff. Thank you so much. And we just have the one agenda item, and it's a CIP application. And with that, the recommendation is that the Planning Advisory Committee approve in full the CIP application for 267 King Street West, maximum amount of $1,500. If I could have somebody move that. Thank you, Jim. Second by Brett and Dana. I believe if you could give us just highlights to that, that would be great.
Certainly, thanks. Through you, Chair Jansman. So we've received an application for Irving Insurance. They're a long-standing business in downtown Prescott, located at 267 King Street West. I'm sure many of you are familiar with this business. Tracy Young sits on the BIA Board of Operations, and we're very excited to receive an application from this business for a new sign. Their sign is in need of some tender loving care, so they would like to bring it up into in line with some new branding that they've moved forward with for their business. There is a mock-up included here in the application. I think it's going to be a great improvement to the business. The one concern that we did know is the fact that the current sign has backlighting, which is prohibited as per our existing sign bylaw. The official sign type is luminous. So we recommended that a new sign that goes up either go up on a new signboard or that the lighting behind it be decommissioned. So the owner has opted for the decommissioning of the lighting and has assured us that the lighting will be turned off to ensure that it does meet the requirements of our sign bylaw. And aside from that, no concerns are noted. They meet all other eligibility requirements, no outstanding work orders or concerns with the property. And we're recommending approval of a $1,500 grant, which would be up to $1,000 for signage and up to $500 in permit fees. Thank you.
Thank you. Jim okay. Mary Todd, do you have a question or comment?
Yes, thanks, Madam Chair. I guess just through you to staff, but it's kind of a comment and a question. So this new sign is not going to be illuminated at all?
No, it won't. The lighting in behind will be decommissioned. So it will look like just a standard signboard without the lighting. The business isn't open past 5 p.m. So they don't anticipate, they generally haven't had a need for the lighting. It's just been on as kind of an aesthetic, and we feel they didn't really have a concern with going away from the lighting. As I mentioned, it's never going to be open.
Yeah, it's just a concern I have overall about, I mean, we've got a lot of different types of signs downtown. A lot aren't illuminated at all. And I like the more the old fashioned style, whether it's the duck lamp lighting with the overhanging lights, something that's got more of an antique sort of look to it. Because right now, I mean, it is dark down there in spots. If we don't have the lights and the trees up, it's actually quite dim with the directional LED lights, the street lights. So and I don't know, I'm not going to vote against this. Obviously, I think it's fantastic. The new sign looks great. It's good to see, but we need some sort of policy on lighting down there overall that just improves the look and the activity. I mean, we want a downtown that is attractive, whether people are driving through at 9 o'clock at night or they're wandering through in the afternoon, that has a real, like a vibrant look. And I think that comes through proper, elegant styled lighting on the commercial stores. So is this something we could have an extra dialogue with them at Irving H. Miller? Is it possible a conversion there would not be? I hate seeing lights getting turned off like this, simply because I think it just contributes to it. Looks like dark storefronts in the downtown. And I know it's an insurance office and they're not going to be hosting big parties there at 9 o'clock at night or anything. But at the same time, it's just kind of a nice overall aesthetic to have the proper lighting. So I don't know if there's added discussion needed or anything on this. It's a concern I have. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Dana, if you want to respond to that.
Yeah, certainly. Just to elaborate, I did have a conversation with the owner and made that recommendation initially that they do consider going with the addition of lighting. Unfortunately, I think the biggest issue is, and this goes back to our design guidelines and the sign bylaw itself, it doesn't have a strict requirement for lighting. And we're looking at upgrading the downtown design guidelines, hopefully as part of the new beautification plan. So these are areas that I think we really need to start addressing, along with paint colors, specific materials that can be utilized for the facade improvements that individuals or property owners are making that are applying to the CIP program. Because I do believe once the town is in a position where we are providing financial support for the improvement of these properties, that we should have more of a say in the selection of specific materials, requirements for lighting, so that we do get to that more traditional downtown. Because I really think that is the ultimate goal of this program. And these are all recommendations that I would be making as part of the revised downtown design guidelines. But I think the concern is now that I just don't believe that we actually have a bylaw or a policy that could enforce that. And Matthew, is there, I'm just not sure if there might be another mechanism that could be used to.
And so you're exactly correct. So the sign bylaw as written today doesn't require lighting, but certainly it's something that we could force in the next iteration of the sign bylaw. But we certainly wanted to get away from backlit signs because it did, provide that kind of a certain aesthetic that we didn't want to go for. And absolutely, the alternative was to suggest gooseneck, which we were very positive about our discussions with H&R Block, and they developed a gooseneck design. And that's what we try to encourage. But currently, there's no requirement to have lighting in the sign in downtown.
Could we talk to Tracy about it though, and possibly encourage it based on the H&R Block example? I mean, I don't know how much this would add to the cost, but the lighting, it's already hooked up, and I wouldn't think it would be a huge added expense to put the lights on. And it would. Are they at the max value now for the signage for what they're going to receive with grant?
They are, yes, but the lighting, to me, the lighting could qualify under the facade. unless I'm mistaken. Is that something that we could possibly look at? I believe that would qualify under a different category, which could give them up to an additional $5,000. It was something they didn't really express an appetite for at the time. And in fact, I sent them the H&R Block sign as an example of something that we would love to see them consider. So I would, it couldn't hurt to go back and have a conversation and then maybe bring this back to PAC for final review consideration once we have a formal response from the business owner.
Yeah, it's just, and not to belabor the point, but I know Tracy's super committed to beautifying the downtown. She's done incredible work down there. And, I don't mean to be discouraging, but I would love to see, a couple examples of this new style that we're more than likely going to insist upon as we go forward. And I know that was part of, when we talked about the CIP initially, was to bring in new standards and to get to that, more of a historical focus rather than the signs looking like they, straight out of the 60s. And this is a great step up, but it's completing the look and the new design, but it doesn't take that extra step to really to make it more of an icon downtown, like I think that the H&R Block sign will be, and maybe even Boomers as we go forward and so on, because there are a lot of renovations. So maybe a little added dialogue with it, and maybe we can, because this would be the time to do it rather than retrofit something later on.
Is this the sign bylaw? This is the one you made reference to, Dana. That's the one we just kind of finished up before COVID. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah. It was passed in 2019.
Yeah. So that's it's hindsight's always 100%, right? But so that's like it was a missed opportunity. Is that what you're saying, kind of?
Well, to an extent, but I think, we also looked at sign bylaws in other municipalities, and there were a lot of examples of those that didn't necessarily require lighting. But I think, as I indicated, when you get into that position where the municipality is actually providing financial support, I think we can set a higher standard through the design guidelines, whereas we may not necessarily want to incorporate it into the sign bylaw. It's not to say I wouldn't recommend both, but maybe a bit more research of comparable bylaws just to see what other municipalities are doing before we put that requirement right in the bylaw.
If I can, just one final comment. Ideally, doing it both ways, having it in the bylaw and so forth, but we're definitely not violating the bylaw by requiring it with regards to the CIP applications when we're providing the funding. And it's not like I want to hold anybody up for it, but I don't want to, continue to do sign after sign and do a lot of grant applications, and then we're gonna wind up with a bit of a dog's breakfast down there at the end of the day. I mean, we've had a number that have applied for the signage just going on the windows. I think that's a real problem because the buildings, it's difficult to see what's in there when the sign itself is completely blank above the storefront. And if we're putting the money out for this, we need to set like Dana just said, a little higher standard for it. And again, if Tracy's watching this or seeing this after the fact, I don't want to seem too picky about it, but I would like to see lighting on these storefronts, because we need to get that liveliness downtown. And the easiest way to do that, or best way to do that, is with the businesses working with us on some nice lighting approaches that just brighten everything up down there. Thanks. That'll be, I promise that's a final comment.
So as a proposed thing, allowing this to move forward, Mayor Todd, would you be okay with just staff direction requesting Dana to have the discussion again and still making it somewhat optional, but promoting the facade feature of the program?
Yes, and could even add that to the motion with staff direction on that as a friendly amendment, just to capture it in the minutes. I say Tracy's been a great partner down there, and Irving H. Miller's a great long-standing business. So I don't want to seem critical or telling them what they need to do with their sign, but I would like to nudge them in that direction if there is any way possible right now before they get the work done. This is obviously the time to make those renovations to the electrical if they're going to go down that road. if we can offer some support to the facade, I think that would, maybe that would, I don't know, push them along to making that decision, or maybe not.
Jim, do you have an opinion about this or any other questions about the application?
No, I don't think so. I don't disagree with the comments on the lighting as well, and the design guidelines that Dana talked about as well. So I'm okay with a friendly amendment if that's the way it goes. And I think it'd be good to look at the design guidelines along with the bylaw about lighting.
Okay, so with a recommendation, Lindsay, you may have something better, but just an additional after that, the Planning Advisory Committee approve in full the CIP application for 267 King Street West at the maximum amount of $1,500 with consideration of utilizing the facade to implement lighting or something to that effect.
Through you, Madam Chair, does the committee want to make mention? I'm not quite sure. Is it the facade stream, Dana? Is that what the specific? So do we want to make mention of that? But I'm fine with your wording too, Madam Chair.
Mayor Todd, are you comfortable with that recommendation?
Yeah, just maximum amount of 1,500 and direct staff to speak with the proponent about added lighting options with regard to the facade grant program, something like that. It's just to have the lighting mentions all it's really needed, but any wording really works. Dana will talk
Possible
again.
to say that's complicated even further, that something to the effect of the committee would be prepared to support a subsequent application for facade funding.
Perfect.
To install the lighting, the complementary lighting.
I would be in support of that, and I don't know about the other members of the committee, but yeah, that sounds great. That would provide more encouragement maybe for them to, for Irving H. Miller to go down this road.
So we're saying yes to this and hopefully yes to part B is what you're saying, Dana, right?
Yeah, essentially, just giving this the indication that the committee would be more than happy to support an application.
Perfect. Okay. Do you have all that?
Through you, Madam Chair, I believe so. So I've got the original motion that the Planning Advisory Committee approve in full the CIP application for 267 King Street West at a maximum amount of $1,500, and that staff be directed to suggest added lighting options through the facade stream of the CIP program, and that the committee would be willing to support an additional application for these changes or these upgrades or.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you, Lindsay.
You're welcome.
So I believe, I forgot which order it was, but if both mover and seconder are okay with that, then yes, okay. All in favor then? Perfect. Thank you very much, everybody, for that.
Apologies for getting that into a very involved conversation.
No, it could have lasted a lot longer. And okay, and I misled a little bit. We do have 2 agenda items, but the next one is our standing item referring to the financial report that's always updated after each meeting. And with that, Matthew, do you have any comments or anything that you would like to talk to about that?
No, I think it explains it fairly well, and we still have, after this evening's meetings, $31,500 to allocate to any remaining applications for this year.
For this calendar year. So I did make mention of that just to last night at the council meeting, just to plant a seed that we still have 6 months left, and that amount is significant, but perhaps do you foresee, Dana, maybe an unfair question, but do you foresee that amount running out, or what's the potential? Do you see any applications that might make us have to say no to, kind of thing, if we run out of funds?
It could be at this point, no. I am in conversation with 2 property owners about potential applications. So I wouldn't predict an issue at this point, but it's very unpredictable.
Sure
We-
enough.
You know, sometimes applications come in out of nowhere with no prior consultation or knowledge on my part, and a lot of other times it's something that's being encouraged on our end. So I generally have an idea of what
Sure.
might be coming in. It could be tight because I'm
Okay.
seeing a lot just with the recovery. We're seeing a lot of increased interest in businesses and commercial property owners to make those improvements. I am hoping we may see something come from the former Circle K property, hoping to see some
Oh,
transition
nice.
happening there within the next few months. So I would assume something would be coming out of there as well.
Right, well, it'd be a good problem to have, right?
Absolutely.
Very good. Any other questions or comments regarding the financial report? Okay. And moving on then to new business. Any new business for this committee? Not seeing any, and so we have adjournment. And so before Jim and Brett move and second that, I just want to thank everybody for their time and to wish everybody a nice evening. With that, Brett, you're okay to move adjournment? Jim seconded, all in favor? Perfect. Thanks, everyone.